Hey there, empowered peeps. I'm Ryan to the rescue. And today I'm going to show you how to use an Ego Weed Eater. And sometimes people call them a weed eater or a weed whacker or a string trimmer. So this Ego Weed Eater has 2 strings on it, so it has really good cutting power. And it has a really durable battery on it. Some weed eaters are gas powered, and I'm not a fan of gas powered because I don't like to mess with the gas and the oil and the fumes and the flammability and things like that. But this one is a battery operated one, and here's how you pop out the battery right here. It's rechargeable. You just push this and slide that out, and then you pop it on the charger, and it charges up really fast in about 30 minutes or even less. And then you just pop it back on and it is good to go. And this will definitely do your whole lawn. I have a really small lawn, so that would be easy. But even if you have a really big lawn, this battery will definitely do your whole lawn. I'm not sure how many minutes or hours it'll run, but it has a really good run time. Now when you use it, this is the safety switch right here. So you have to push this first. And then when you pull this, it turns it on. There you go. Also, you control the speed and the power with this one just by pulling this lever a different amount, like this. Now, if the string gets too short because you've been cutting up against rocks or whatever and it gets broken off and it's really short, then all you have to do is tap it on the grass a few times while the weed eater is going, and then these strings come out longer. So let me show it to you, and I want you to look closely at how short the strings are at first, and then after I tap them, how they came out longer. And then if you run out of string altogether, let me show you how to replace that. Okay, so if you have tapped this on the ground to get the string to come out and no more will come out, then that means it's time to reload. And let me show you how to do that. So this last little bit of string that's in here, you can just yank that out. And then you can buy some string that is compatible for Ego weed eaters. And this one is Echo brand. And so you can just pull it out here, and it's best to put in about 10 feet. And here is a fun little tip for you in case you don't know this. If you are about 5 feet tall, then that means from tip to tip of your fingers is also about 5 feet. So you're 5 feet wide and 5 feet tall. So I'm going to pull this out 2 times, all the way like this. And again, there we go. So that's approximately 10 feet, and that'll work. Then I'm gonna snip this off with a wire snip. There we are. It's not wire, by the way, it's just plastic string, but a wire snip is really good for cutting it. Okay, so now to load it, you look right here where it says load, and then you line up that line with this line right here on the side. So the side and the top are lined up, and then you push it down, and that makes a hole appear right here. So you just feed the line right through here where the hole is, and it goes right out the other side. See that? Now you'll want this to be half and half, so you want about 5 feet on either side. So I'm going to put the 2 ends together and then make sure that I have the middle lined up inside of the weed eater. There we go. Okay, once you have that about half and half on each side, then what you do with this one, now this is an older Ego weed eater model, okay? And you wind it up manually. But let me give you a heads up. If you buy the new Ego weed eater, it does this part mechanically. So you can just push a button and it coils it up for you. Super cool feature. Anyway, but I have an older one, and if you happen to have access to an older one, then I want you to know how to do this. So it says right here, wind, and then it shows an arrow this way. So I'm going to wind it in the direction that it says, and you kind of push and wind at the same time. And as I'm doing that, I'm coiling up these strings slowly but surely. All right, sweet, got that done. Now these will cut off automatically because there's a cutter right here. So you don't have to worry about getting this the right length. It'll cut off as you use it. Now, I just want to tell you about another video that I did comparing this Ego Weed Eater with a Black & Decker Weed Eater. And what I was talking about is all the different kinds of features and pros and cons that each one of those weed eaters has. And so if you want to take a look at that video, that might be helpful for you in choosing a weed eater and also in understanding how each one works. Now we're loaded up with fresh string and we're ready to get back to work. Okay, let's talk technique. There is a big debate among lawn care professionals about whether you should weed eat clockwise or counterclockwise. Weed eat to the right or to the left. Do you do it before you mow or after you mow? Well, I have the right answer for all of that. The answer is, you do you, boo. Whichever way works best for you and your life and your lawn, then do it like that. You can weed eat to the right or to the left or before you mow or after you mow. I empower you to make that decision. On this weed eater, the string rotates to the right, which means it's going to throw out debris to the right. So you definitely want to take that into consideration when you're weed eating, especially if you're weed eating around a flower bed. You don't want to throw grass into your mulch or your flower bed, or if you're weed eating around a pool or your patio, something like that. Just watch the direction that the debris is flying and then turn the other way. That way it doesn't go into your pool and on your patio. That's easy, right? So my preference is to weed eat before I mow. So let me show you how I do that, and also you'll be seeing how efficient and how great this weed eater works. Maybe you're brand new to weed eating and lawn care, and if so, I just want to share this with you. You may be thinking, let me take my weed eater and I'll go around and hit little spots here or there or over there where there are long weeds or long grass, and I'll take care of those. I would like to encourage you, go ahead and walk the perimeter of your house and the perimeter of your yard and just weed eat everything. Because even if you have some weeds that are not very tall and you're thinking, I'll just skip over that portion, once you mow, then you'll be like, oh, dude, those are a lot taller than I thought. So I'm going to encourage you, just go ahead and weed eat everything, whether it be tall or short or medium, and that way you'll get a nice clean line. And then when you mow and finish it up, it'll look really nice and even and beautiful. I like to weed eat to the right, so that's how I'm going to show my example to you today. But I wouldn't hesitate one moment to switch it around depending on the terrain or the need. But before I get started, let's talk about safety. So it'd be a good idea to wear closed-toed shoes and long pants. And also, don't weed eat around any other person or an animal. And also, most importantly, wear protective eyewear, because you just don't know what that weed eater is going to kick up. It could just be grass or debris or dirt, or it could even be rocks. So I have my eyes protected. Let's get going. Okay, I decided to wear my sunglasses as my protective eyewear. Now, before we get started with the weed eating, what you should do is hold your weed eater up against the wall or the fence where you're weed eating and see how long your string is. And then once you see how long it is, you'll know how far out from the wall you need to hold your weed eater. And if your string is not long enough, go ahead and tap it on the ground like I showed you to get the string to come out. And then also, before you get started, you can go ahead and tilt your weed eater down a little bit, and that way it'll make sure that you get the weeds really short that are up against the fence or the wall. So let's get started. All right, we got lots of weeds whacked down against the fence and against the stone wall. Now, you can also use your weed eater as an edger. Now, there is a separate tool that is specifically made to edge your driveway and your sidewalk. But if you want to save money, you don't have to buy that tool. You can use your weed eater to do that. And I just did a video on 2 different types of weed eaters, and some are better at edging than others. So if you want to take a look at that video, the Black & Decker weed eater is really, really good at that. It has a wheel and it makes it a little easier to stay in line. But today I'm going to use this Ego weed eater, and I'm going to show you how you can edge with it as well. So first of all, you turn it and you hold it a different way. So when you're weed eating, you hold it down like this, flat. And then when you're edging, you just turn it on its side like this. It takes some skill because you're going to try to run this string right along your grass line and just snip it off in a nice clean edge. And as you're learning, you may gouge out pieces of your grass and things like that. But as you continue to practice, you'll get a straighter line. And let me show you up close how it looks, and we'll see if I get a straight line or not. All right, well, that wasn't too bad. There were a couple of weeds that I had to pull by hand that were kind of stubborn, and my line is perhaps not as straight as a ruler, but it looks good enough for me, and at the end of the day, I'm proud of it, and that's what matters. So now you know how to use this Ego weed eater, and you know how to load it, and then you also know a lot of good safety tips and techniques on how to use a weed eater in general. So now when weeds see us coming, they don't stand a chance. And do you know why? Because we can do it.